you for joining in for another online devotion, or maybe we should call it Lessons with Less. We've been talking each week about tools that the devil uses that begin with the letter D. And today I want us to talk about distraction. Distraction is probably the one thing that gets me, that the devil uses to get me more than anything else. And so maybe you shouldn't expect anything great here today because I'm still learning. But I'll share with you what I did discover this morning as I was looking at this topic. First off, I did some research for the word distraction as it's found in the New International Version of the Bible. And the search came up with some results, and I thought maybe you might want to guess. How many times in the Bible does the word, in the NIV Bible, is the word distraction or distractions or distracted used? If you're guessing, probably 50 to 100 times, then you're off a little bit. If you think it's between 25 to 50, you're off a little bit too. If you think it's maybe 10 to 25 times, you're off as well. In fact, the word distraction is actually only used one time in the New International Version of the Bible. But that one time that I found is actually very, very significant and very, very insightful, I think, to this whole thing. So let me tell you what it is. It's found in the story that we read in Luke chapter 10, the story of Jesus, in which Jesus is visiting the house of two women. Their names are Mary and Martha. So you're probably familiar with this if you've read the Bible very much. But Jesus was pretty good friends with Mary and Martha. He went to their house pretty frequently to visit, also to visit their brother Lazarus, who was there in the same village called Bethany. And this time it was maybe a surprise visit. We're not sure. But we read in the text that Mary sat at the feet of Jesus listening to him, while Martha was distracted or worried by all the preparations that had to be made. In fact, there was so much to be done that she felt that had to be done that she got upset with her sister Mary for just sitting there seemingly doing nothing, when a good host would no doubt get up and be working to ensure that there was a good meal for all of the guests that were there. And it so bothered Martha that she actually went up to Jesus. I guess you can do this if you're good friends. And she said, Jesus, don't you care that she's left me to do all of this work by myself? Tell her to get up and help me. Well, what you would expect then maybe is Jesus to say something like, it's okay, Mary, we can talk later. You might expect Mary to get a little bit a little bit embarrassed and think that she needs to get up. But instead, what happens is Jesus looks up at Martha and he says to her, Martha, Martha, you're worried and you're upset about many things, but only one thing is needed. And then he said, Mary has made the right choice, and it'll not be taken away from her. Now, there's a little debate there about whether Jesus was telling Martha that she could just prepare one thing instead of making a 5-course meal or something to that effect, or if Jesus instead was saying, look, Martha, there's one thing that's needed, and that is to learn from me, and we don't really have to have anything to eat. But what he certainly was saying, regardless of which way you take it on that, what he certainly was saying is that the choice to sit and to learn from him is more important than being distracted by trivial things like eating. And isn't it true for most of us that we often let little things in life get in the road of the more important? When I go to my office many days, there are piles all over my desk. There are little sticky notes here and there, and there's paperwork and so forth. And all of them are reminders to me that, hey, you're going to do this sometime or another soon. You need to get this done. And when I see them, what happens to me is that I immediately, many days, get distracted by those things. And I think if I could just do these few things first, then I can concentrate on the important things. And so I get to work on them. The next thing you know, time has dwindled away and something else pops up that needs to be done. And sure enough, the most important things, like calling to talk to somebody that needs to know about Jesus, or preparing a lesson or a sermon, is not done yet. There's something wrong with that picture. I've failed to do the thing, the most important thing that's needed. And it's so easy, isn't it, for that to happen with all of us, and the things that we feel need to be done end up not being so important, and the things that really are important end up not getting done. Um, you know, the one thing that Mary was doing and Martha was not is probably the most important thing that needs done. And isn't that ironic? If we don't make it our priority to connect with God for an extended time each day in prayer and Bible reading and study, getting to know Him, listening to Him, we probably never will make the main things the main things. Instead, we'll just keep getting distracted by little stuff. Over in 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verse 35, there's another applicable text to all of this. Paul says there that he wants to promote what is proper so that we may give undivided devotion to the Lord, or actually the Christian Standard Bible says it, to be devoted to the Lord without distraction. There's our word again. In some ways, I don't like that verse because I'm married, and if you look at the context, you find out Paul is telling people it's not always a good thing to get married. Why? Because it divides our interests between our spouses and God. But there is truth in the fact that my interests are divided by being married. My wife sometimes needs me to fix something at the house. My wife sometimes needs my attention because she's emotionally distraught over something. And those things that divide my interests can keep me from doing other things that are very, very important for God. But Paul says also, he's not really trying to restrain you from, or us from, getting married. But what he does go on to say basically is that he wants to make sure that we're aware of that so that we keep that from happening in our lives, and so that we make sure, even if we're married, God gets first place. Well, so Paul says in 1 Corinthians 9:24-27 that he actually had to beat his body and make it his slave. Sometimes I think that's about what we have to do to overcome the distractions that are around us. But here's a couple more relevant verses. Luke chapter 21, verses 34-36, Jesus tells us we have to be on our guard against various sins and against, quote, the cares or the worries of life, so that the day of Jesus' return does not come on us unexpectedly. In other words, we have to watch out for and we have to identify distractions. And he goes on to say we have to pray for strength to escape everything that's going to come on us. One more verse to note, and we'll close this out. Hebrews chapter 12, verses 1 and 2. In that one, the writer says that we should throw off not only sins, but everything that hinders or everything that entangles us, so that we can run the Christian race with endurance, so that we can keep our eyes focused on Jesus, the author and perfecter of our faith, who endured the cross for us, scorning its shame, and sat down at the right hand of the Majesty in heaven. The bottom line is from that there may be some to-do list on my desk, and some on your desk or on your refrigerator that you need to just throw away because they're not so important, and replace them instead with things that really are important that have to do with Jesus and the good works that he wants us to do. Put that all together, and I have 4 suggestions for overcoming the devil's tool of distraction that I need to put into practice in my life, and maybe they'll help you too. Number 1, make sure make sure you get, make sure we get our daily devotions done. Reading the Bible, praying to God for an extended time every single day. Second, I'm guessing you may need to pray for strength to stay focused. Pray for strength to stay focused on what is important. Number 3, practice self-discipline. Sometimes it's just a matter of gritting your teeth, telling yourself, I'm not going to do the unimportant today. I'm going to do the important. And then get out there and do it. Then finally, number 4, get distractions out of sight. Maybe you've got a bunch of stuff on your desk reminding you that it wants done, screaming at you to do it, and you just need to throw it aside. Put it in the closet, get it somewhere where you don't see it, because it's something that could be done in the downtime, something that shouldn't be done as a priority. Well, there you have it. That's it for the day. But be sure to connect with us on Sunday here at Rose Hill Christian Church. We'd love to have you at 10:30 a.m. Also, beginning next week, we will have Bible classes for all ages at 9:30. Right now, it's just the young adults at 9:30, but on the first Sunday of July, we'll all be together again at 9:30. And you can, of course, still connect here at 10:30 online every Sunday. Thanks, and have a great day.